Loved ones, my name is Bill Norton. This is the first video that will be a shared activity with us for this summer session of 2020. I realize that many of you have not had me before, and that is fine, that is well. For many of you, for those of you in the principals class, Management 130 is probably one of your first upper division courses. It's an important gateway course, lets you move on to other things. And for those of you in the entrepreneurship track, the fundamentals course, the Management 32-34 course, is for you either a free elective, or for many of you, it is the first of 4 courses in the entrepreneurship and innovation emphasis. That is a track that would serve you well all of your lives, if that's your heart. So this video is purposefully described as rules of engagement. I'm going to talk about things that are essentially shared protocols, the way you and I are going to go through this summer session together. And of course that gives you an opportunity, just as if you were shopping at the beginning of the fall or spring semester, to make a decision to go on with this class or to find somebody who comes under the category of Dr. Cupcake. Because I'll hold you to high standards, and that as well. When you leave this campus, your employers will hold you to high standards. They'll have clear expectations, and you'll have accountability for performance. So it's no surprise that I impose the same standard on you. So again, I'm going to talk about these specific shared protocols. I've got lecture notes. I probably have, 16 or 17 discussion points that I want to share. Before I begin, and I will in just a moment, I want to share something with you that's really pretty exciting. This is early June of 2020. I think today is Monday the 8th. I got a letter just a couple of days ago, maybe Thursday or so, and it's an invitation to enlist in the United States Space Force. How cool is that? We have a new military organization, or Space Command rather, United States Space Command. New military organization. President Trump put it together with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and a representative of all the services. And clearly, it's probably long overdue. Space is now and will be for decades, if not centuries, a contested space because satellites do so much surveillance and communication and guidance and things like that. So the point is that what I want to share with you is this letter talks about going in the Space Command as an enlisted person, and I get that, and also talks about a path for officer enlistment. And I don't know if I got this letter in the mail because every person on the planet did, or if it was sent to me because I'm former military. I simply don't know. I don't know what the selection process was. But I want to show you something that's a useful distinction. I said I'm former military. I spent 4.5 years in active duty in the Army as an infantryman. And when I went on active duty, I got a really cool rifle. This is a civilian variant. This is an AR-15. AR means Armalite rifle. It is a trademarked term. This is an AR-15. It's a civilian variant of the M4 that is issued to the military. And this particular gun, I can assure you, is better quality on every dimension than what is issued to our soldiers and Marines. But nonetheless, if you join the Army, you get a rifle. Pretty cool. I get that. However, one of the things they talked about in the Space Command letter is if you join the Space Command, you get a lightsaber! How cool is that? Yes. Now, they don't talk about Jedi training in the letter, but I'm assuming that is one of the paths that's open to you. So it's pretty exciting that, as I said, you in the Army, you get a rifle. Space Command, you get a lightsaber. How cool is that? So, I want to go on and talk to you about some of these, what I consider to be important discussion points. I did something substantially identical to this in the spring semester, because those of you that were enrolled then know that mid-semester we were forced to convert everything face-to-face to online. And there's no complaint from me, but there's a lot of heavy lifting to pull that off in a week. I had 4 classes, 200 students, and I had to literally transform everything that was delivered face-to-face to an online platform. And I did it, and I did it as well as I could. So I want to move into some of these significant discussion points. The first is, I promise you, I will miss our interactions, not just in the classroom. That alone is neat. but I'll miss our interactions outside the classroom, in the hallway, in my office, at a coffee shop. I very much miss the interactions because so much good stuff happens there. However, fall of 20, everyone in this university is planning on in-campus face-to-face, or rather on-campus face-to-face, and I mean everything. I mean classes, labs, extracurricular activities, intercollegiate sports, everything. We are planning on going back to normal. It's inarguable that something could come up and we're forced to choose another path, and we're developing contingency plans. But the expectation is we are back standard, ordinary, normal people in the fall, and I'm really, really looking forward to that. Now, because most of you, because of the stage of your college career, because most of you are first-time students for me, I want to tell you something that is this is not an objective, loved ones, this is a goal. This is aspirational. I want, every time I walk into a classroom or make a presentation to you virtually, I want to create an exceptional learning environment. I want you to be engaged. I want you to just thrive. I want you to absorb. I want you to learn I want you to assimilate. I want you to learn how to use this stuff. A couple of years ago, I got a student teaching evaluation. Of course, I get hundreds of these every semester. And one of my students, have no idea, man or woman, no idea what class. One of my students said something that was just unbelievably kind, but it sort of captures what I try to accomplish. This kid's student teaching evaluation said, Norton's class is like having breakfast with a good friend. There's no stress, and you look forward to it. I probably don't deserve that, but that's my aspiration. I want you to learn, and I want you to love learning, and I'll do everything in my power to make that happen. Now, point number 4. You will discover, if you haven't already, that I'm a deeply flawed and imperfect human being. And I, from time to time, shouldn't behave poorly, but every once in a while, I'll say things, salty language. And the last thing, so what I want you to capture right here, right now, before classes begin, my videos are all rated PG-13. Nothing ugly is going to happen. There won't be graphic violence, gratuitous sex. I know that's a disappointment, I know. By the way, when we come back in the fall, if there's social distancing, that safe sex thing is going to work out, isn't it? I think that's true. So, since I say to you right now that these videos are rated PG-13, if you have younger siblings, do not. This is an order. Do not let your younger brothers or sisters watch these videos with you, please. The last thing I want to do is upset your brothers or sisters. I don't want them distressed. I don't want your 7-year-old brother going to your mom and saying, Mom, Dr. Bill said butthole. What's a butthole? Please, no short kids. Do not let your brothers and sisters watch this. The next point, there will be blood. That doesn't sound right. I need classes for reading. There will be bloopers. I shot probably 25 or 30 videos in the spring with modest success. When I say modest success, I think I accomplished the goals. I think my kids were engaged, and I think they got good learning and good content out of them. And you alone will judge my success over this summer session. But what I want you to understand is I shoot these videos live. I have no interest in buying editing software, no interest in developing those skills. What I put up on YouTube is what I shoot, whether it's here in the alternative classroom, fancy name for my deck. I actually shoot a lot of our classes in the Parker College because I discovered many years ago that I don't think I can teach effectively without a whiteboard, without me being able to put up concepts or models on the board and develop them. And I also have known for a very long time that many of you are visual learners. If you hear something, it doesn't necessarily click. If you see it, you capture it. So again, many of my classes will be shot on the Parker College, but some here on my deck. And last semester, I went off campus several times. I literally filmed one in a CIA safe house. I filmed 2 or 3 classes on a rifle range here in coastal Georgia. When I say engage you, I will make every effort to make you look forward to watching these videos. So, I'm not going to develop any editing skills. Rather, what I shoot is what goes up on YouTube. So if I say something that I wouldn't necessarily regret, but it wouldn't be good judgment for younger audiences, there will be bloopers, and I'm unapologetic about that. Next point. Let me tell you my approach to delivery of online courses. I am midway through my 28th year in the front of a college classroom. And spring of 8 or 9 weeks ago, is the first time that I ever taught anything online. I intellectually and actively resist online education because we have a great deal of data that suggests that very little learning takes place. If I'm going to invest a great deal of time and energy, I want you to be beneficiaries. So I generally say no to online education. And for that reason, university has sort of an approved protocol. We actually go through a certification process on campus through the Center of Educational Excellence. And once we're certified, there's this cookie cutter thing that we do on Folio. So everybody's online courses look like everybody else's online courses. I had none of that training, and I don't regret that. And when the decision was made to push the back half of spring 20 online, since we had 1 week to make that happen, we had 1 week, the week after what was our spring break, and then we went back live again. We had 1 week. The university said to the faculty, you all have complete autonomy. You can use any platform, any mechanism that you wish. And I actively thought about WebEx, because WebEx is embedded in Folio. I decided against it because on campus we have connectivity problems. Then I immediately thought about Zoom or Google Hangouts. And what I realized is I would be requiring you to be sitting in front of a monitor on a particular day at a particular time. That's not how online education works. So this decision all took place in maybe 4 or 5 minutes. So I said to myself in March of this year, what platform can I use that is accessible to my kids from anywhere in the world with any device? What is reliable as a rock? And the only and obvious answer to me was YouTube. So in the spring of this year, I opened up a YouTube channel. The channel is styled Bill Norton, Parker College of Business. You know that because you're on it right now. But the point is that I created a YouTube channel, and that's where all the content takes place. But on a daily basis, I beg you, you have to toggle back and forth between 2 platforms, Folio and YouTube. YouTube is where the content is. That's where you'll see me make presentations for every one of our class sessions, and some other things too, like this Rules of Engagement video. Separately, the stuff on Folio is part of your learning experience. Clearly, the syllabus is there. Any documents that we need, PowerPoint presentations, guidelines for article reviews, any documents that you would need will be on Folio when this summer session starts. And unsurprisingly, everything that will be graded will be put on Folio as well. I'll put midterm exams there, final exams, critical thinking exercises. Any exercise that's going to be graded will appear on Folio. So daily, I beg you, go back and forth between Folio and YouTube. You have to constantly look at those 2 platforms to get the richness of this summer school experience. Now, I have no particular goal in terms of length of videos. I'm not trying to get them to 30 minutes. When I opened up the YouTube channel, I purposefully said I'm going to go way longer than 15, and I got that permission from the Google people that own YouTube. So my point is, many of our videos will be substantially the same in terms of length as our classrooms would be. For summer school, our class meetings are 1:40. So my point is, if a video is long, pause the darn thing. If you need to eat, take a call, make love, whatever it is that you need to do. If you need to, pause the video and come back to it. Clearly, it would be beneficial if you could go through it in one sitting, but that is in no way required. So, next comment that I want to share with you, next discussion point. I want to talk to you about the pace of summer school. I have no way of knowing how many of you have ever had summer school classes in a college environment, but this won't surprise you. We, the faculty, take 15 weeks worth of content and we compress it into 4.5. The pace is frenetic. It just moves so fast. That's one of the reasons that it's difficult to learn. because there's no opportunity to explore, there's no opportunity to assimilate, to find ways to practice, to apply. So the pace of summer school is just crazy fast. And what that means is you cannot fall behind. I'm not lecturing you, I'm not delivering a sermon, I'm not the Right Reverend Dr. Norton. You cannot fall behind. It is impossible to catch up because you can't manufacture time. You can only allocate that which you have in front of you. You can, I mean, think about it. If we're going to meet more than an hour and a half every day, and you have things beyond that, reading, exercises, exams, things like that, you can't fall behind. Please. Every night, every other night, stay abreast of what's going on. I told you that Folio is active. I opened it, I probably activated it about a month before the summer session started, because I posted an update about the YouTube channel, and I also posted the syllabus so that y'all could look at the pace, the requirements, the required resources, things like that. I want to point out that for both of these classes, for the principles class and the entrepreneurship class, there is one textbook. The textbooks are required resources. There is no way you can succeed in either of these courses without buying the textbook. I would also point out that both textbooks have been adopted previously, and that means that you can find them in the aftermarket. You can buy them used for 50 cents on the dollar. You have to have the textbook. Please get it now. Do not wait. You can't fall behind. I also want to point out something that's on both of the syllabi, and that is that none of you have any requirement for online access. I don't use Connect. You don't have to buy any access, for anything, worksheets or whatever the case may be. So Folio is active, and just be aware that the textbook is a required resource, but there's nothing else that's required. I want to talk to you now about the use of session numbers. This Rules of Engagement video doesn't have a session number because this video is not embraced in the syllabus that sets forth the 4.5 weeks that we have together. If you look on every syllabus that I have ever done in my entire career, every class meeting has two descriptors. There's a date, a calendar date, and right beside it, parenthetically, there is a session number. For example, whatever the day is this summer school session, is it maybe June 22nd? I think it's 2 weeks from today. But the point is, if we were meeting face-to-face, our first summer school session would be on Monday, June the 22nd. So the syllabus says, for that class meeting, it says welcome and introduction. It says 22 June, and it also says session number 1. So every class meeting, every session has two descriptors, a calendar date and a session number. Since we don't meet in class, the only way you have of knowing what is happening sequentially are the session numbers. So every time I post a video, there will be a session number that identifies it. And clearly, that is our best mechanism for timing. Because even though you could watch 2 or 3 of these in an evening or on a weekend day or something like that, that doesn't push off any of the due dates. So be sensitive to the calendar days, and simply be aware that the best descriptor that we have would be the session numbers that appear beside each class on the syllabus. I want to talk now, this is discussion point 10. I want to talk now briefly about communication with me. I don't have any plans to have chat sessions or things like that where I am on Google Hangouts. Not going to happen. You're too busy and I'm too busy. The syllabus says this: I have one and only one email address. It is my university address. It is Bill Norton, no punctuation, at georgiasouthern.edu. It's long, but it's intuitive. Any communication that you have to have with me must come to that email address. Do not try to contact me through Folio. Don't go on Tinder. Don't post anything on your Instagram account. One and only one email address. It's the only way to reach me. I promise you, if your email begs a response, I will acknowledge it. I may just say something as simple as "got it, thanks," or we'll do whatever we need to do. But every email that you send me will be acknowledged so that you'll know that I received it. The third thing that's true, I would say, about these email exchanges with me is You absolutely must, every time you sit down at a keyboard, don't just tell me your name, but tell me the class you're in, the section, and the session that you're contacting me about. You might say, Dr. Norton, I'm in Management 3130. It is Section B as in Bravo, and I want to talk to you about Session 8. You have to tell me those three things in addition to your name. Class, section, session number. If I don't have that, I don't have the time to search for you. I have over 100 kids enrolled in 2 classes this semester, and if you think about this, you'll find this out in just a moment. I literally take a virtual attendance for every class. So I'll be teaching 10 classes a week, and I have 100 kids. So 100 times 10, unless I embarrass myself, is 1,000. That means that I will be reading and sending back 2,000 emails a week just to verify your attendance. A lot of traffic in and out of my mailbox. If I don't have identifiers, if I don't know who you are, where you belong, I'll just delete it, or I won't respond to it. And whatever you wanted to talk about will go, we simply won't deal with it. So every email that comes to me, you must, not just your name, but the class you're in, the section, and the session number that you're responding to or inquiring about. Now, if something happens in your life that would make your emails long or complex or emotional, if that's true, we'll exchange cell phone numbers and we'll talk on the phone. That happened to me in the spring. One of my kids who lives in, I guess she lives in the Brunswick area, somewhere down in the Golden Isles. She was involved in a significant accident. She spent 5 days at a hospital in Jacksonville, multiple surgeries. So her mom and I linked up, and then we started talking. And my point is that we exchanged cell phone numbers, so I was able to get a clear sense for her progress, her needs, how I could respond to them. So again, if something happens in your life and an email platform is the wrong communication channel, again, let me know, and we'll exchange cell phone numbers, and we will talk through it. Because we'll make that a synchronous exchange, not one that's asynchronous. The next point, for anything that you submit to me that's going to be graded, no matter what it is, it will go to Dropbox. I've already set up folders in Dropbox for every graded assignment that each of y'all will have in each of your classes, the 2 that I'm teaching. Whether it's a midterm, a critical thinking exercise, a final, there is a folder already set up in Dropbox for you to submit. So, as I told you earlier, I'll be putting the assignments on Folio. I expect you to grab them, perform whatever you need to do. Like, let's say it's a 4-question essay test. So you grab the thing to your laptop or whatever device you're using, do the essay test, and then you simply, when you go back to Dropbox, you simply upload it. That is the way I've permitted you to put files in Dropbox. So I've made it as simple as I can. So Gradebook is activated. There are folios for every grade assignment as I speak to you today. I also want to share something with you about Folio, and that is that I have no intention of activating Gradebook. There are 2 reasons for that. The primary one is if I'm grading one of your midterms, for example, I will be grading it on my monitor in real time, and I will assign a grade, and I'll give you feedback then, at that moment. You get real-time feedback on the grade. I'm not going to go into great depth. I might say that question 1 was wonky or whatever the case may be. But my point is, you'll get real-time grades as I grade these documents. I have no intention of putting them on Gradebook because Gradebook requires, it distorts information. If I'm weighting anything, instead of you getting the raw score on Gradebook, you'll get the weighted score, and that's deceptive. I can think of a situation a while back where my students had 3 midterm exams, and those 3 exams literally were weighted for 1/2 of the course grade. So the max that they could score in 3 exams would have been 300 points. Fair statement? And it was worth 500 points out of 1,000. So the way to get from 300 to 500 is you sum the scores and multiply that summed score by 1.67. So here's my point, and I may misremember the specific numbers, but remember, to get from 300 to 500, you sum and multiply by 1.67 to get the weighting. So I had a student that got something like a 56 on the midterm, And when you multiply it by 1.67, it was something like an 85. So she looks at gradebook and thinks she has a solid B when she has a terrible F. So I won't use gradebook anytime for any reason. I don't intend to activate it. As I said, in real time, when I'm grading your exercises, you'll get the score in real time. And the truth is, that's even better than if we were face-to-face, because I have a long-standing policy that if we are face-to-face, I will always get anything graded back to you within 7 days. That's usually 2 class meetings. So you're getting it considerably faster in this online platform. I'd like to talk to you now about virtual attendance. Must hydrate. If you've had a chance to look at the syllabus for your class, you'll see that I simply observe the university policy. I don't make up my own, nor do I ignore it. I observe the university policy. It's essentially captured on each of the 2 syllabi. And here's what it says. This shouldn't surprise you because most of you are sophomores or farther. But university policy says you're expected to attend all classes. If you miss fewer than 10%, unexcused, that is forgivable. There's no consequence. If you miss 10% or more of the scheduled classes and your absences are unexcused, that is an unappealable letter grade penalty. If you miss 20% or more, that's an unappealable 2 letter grade penalty. Of course, the operative word there is unappealable, university policy. So my point is that I have no control over what you do in terms of what your days or evenings, but I will be taking virtual attendance for every class we have, and that includes this one. By that I mean, here's how I plan to do this. I did this in the spring, and it's a pretty simple mechanism, and it works quite well. Every video session that I present to you, I will purposefully introduce something that is off topic. It's not in the domain. I talked about the Space Command and AR-15s at the start of this video, didn't I? That has nothing to do with either principles of management or fundamentals of entrepreneurship. So that material was off topic. It was out of domain. So every video that I record and put up on YouTube, I'll do something like that. And at the end of the video session, or at the midpoint, because sometimes I ask 2 questions, I will ask a question about the out-of-domain topic that we discussed. So the point is that after you view every video, you have to send me an email, your name, class, section, session number, and say, Dr. Norton, the answer for the attendance verification for session 22 is Jedi training, or whatever the question is. And I will acknowledge that. Now, for each of the 24 or 5 classes that we're going to meet this summer session, I will be printing a roster with the date at the top. And if you toggle in and you answer the attendance verification question, I will make the note that you virtually attended. If you don't, it will be blank. And if at the end of the summer session you've missed 10% or more, and they're unexcused, unappealable letter grade penalty, and the same with 20%, except it's a 2-letter grade penalty. Now, so the grade penalties apply. There's no way that I'm relaxing the attendance requirements because it's either summer school or it's online. You have an obligation, the university says, to attend every class meeting, and you will just attend them virtually this summer, but you will have to verify to me that you did. And since I typically introduce the out-of-domain topic early on, I will ask 1 or 2 questions either at the midpoint or at the end. So you have to view the video and respond. You have to. I mean, again, it's a simple mechanism. Now, the syllabus does provide for, and certainly I welcome this, excused absences, but the only time that would matter in an online format is if you had something due, a midterm exam or a paper, something like that, and you were late getting it to me because of an excused absence. You were ill. You attended a funeral at the death of a family member. You're doing something to represent the university, like you're a student athlete or whatever the case may be. So the university policy identifies 4 events that are excused absences. I refresh them in our syllabi. So my point is, excused absences do operate in these online sessions if indeed you miss a due date. Because in the absence of that, I will accept work that's late, but if you submit anything late, even a day late, that's unexcused, there's a 15% penalty of whatever you would have had. And then if it's more than 7 days after the due date, I won't even grade it. It is a 0, and 0 is averaged terribly. You know that. So please don't be cavalier. Be committed. Be responsible. Examinations. Oh dear. This was a learning experience for me in the spring. In the spring, I had 4 classes and about 200 kids. It's not uncommon for me to have 65 kids in every section that I teach, so I often have 250 students in a given semester. In a perfect world, I would only give essay tests, because if I force you to articulate your response to a question, that sharpens your thinking, and it demonstrates to me that you have some reasonable command of that piece of the literature. So it's a much better evaluation of your knowledge than you picking the least offensive of 4 choices, because it's almost always easy to strike 2 of them, isn't it? So you come down to struggling between the 2 that remain. So online, I will never do a multiple choice test, because that is just fertile ground for the rats out there who will cheat. So every test that I give you, whether it's a midterm or final, will be an essay exam. And when I say an essay exam, I mean short essay. I'm not talking blue books where you write for 2.5 hours. A midterm exam will typically have 4 essay questions, and I expect you to write a short essay in responding to that. Giving me 2 sentences is not a short essay. Giving me bullet points doesn't meet the definition of an essay. It's an essay test. Write short essays that are on point. Clearly, you have all resources. You can review the videos. You have the textbook. You have your notes. You have all resources. And of course, this will always be an individual effort. I don't ever expect this to be a team event. I'll talk about cheating in just a moment. It's also well that you know that because of this forced movement to online education, that I made a decision that every question that I present in any midterm exam will be original. I will never grab a question from a prior exam, because I don't want you to be able to go to one of those cheating websites like Chegg or Coursera or any of those other rat holes and then regurgitate whatever you read in the past. You will not be able to go to your fraternity or sorority database on exams. Every question on every exam that I give to you online is original. I will use it once and only once and never again. So it's not that difficult to just respond to the question in front of you. Now, not even related to this examination thing, I want to talk about your responsibilities in my notes. This is the 14th discussion point. Your responsibilities in this online learning environment are not new. Here are my expectations. The first thing I expect you to do is read the material, whatever that may be. I think you would be wise to highlight those things that you think are important. I think you'd be incredibly bright if after you read this stuff that you journaled, that you took notes, that you grabbed the major concepts or wrote down questions. But my point is that all of that reinforces learning. If you do that, if you read the material, highlight, and journal, make some literal notes from the material, you have a superb database to study for an exam. So I would expect that for every one of our sessions, every one of them, you would spend between 45 minutes and an hour at least studying on your own, reading, highlighting, journaling, that sort of a thing. And again, you alone will be the beneficiary. If you're committed, then your commitment predicts success. If you don't give a crap, your not giving a crap will reflect clearly in the grade that you're on. So again, your responsibilities are not new, but they're completely independent. We're not meeting twice a week. I have no opportunity to urge you on. This is grown-up stuff, isn't it? Next topic, cheating. I'm going to be very unkind here, and heaven forbid, this is one of the places where I may go off the rails as far as my language is concerned. I have a lot of flaws, but being an ethical rat is not one of them. I will accommodate you anytime for any reason. preference, style, accommodation, convenience, but I will never compromise on matters of principle, ever. So my point is that I will never, never tolerate cheating. I don't care what the circumstances are. It just simply doesn't matter. If you violate our code of academic honesty, you're in the crosshairs. Now, separately, I will never act on gossip or speculation or anything like that. But if you cheat and I have anything that's evidential, and there are so many ways that I have evidence, proof that you cheated. If I have anything that is evidential, I'm not going to give you a 0 in that assignment. I'm going to give you an F in the course, and yes, you get to file a grade appeal. We'll see how that plays out. And I will also devote a great deal of time and energy to getting you expelled from this university. The last thing I want is you ethical rat bastards out there, tarnishing the reputation of the Parker College. I don't want our graduates to go out, because see, here's the dilemma. If you have a predisposition for cheating, lying, stealing, deceiving, anything like that, if you're an ethical rat, what will happen when you leave this college, this university, is you'll get a job somewhere and you will see an opportunity. And because you're characterless, you'll capitalize on it. You'll take advantage of it. And I can promise you, because you're behaving opportunistically, it'll involve money. And here's what will happen. You will be severed from your job. Okay, nice thing to put on a resume. And if it involves any significant amount of money, you'll be prosecuted. And all the while, people will be saying, oh my goodness, we can't hire any more of those kids from the Parker College. They're all ethical rats. So it may happen and I may not learn of it, but I promise you, if I have anything that's evidential that you have cheated, I will come down on you like the hammer of Thor. And I mean out of Greek mythology, not out of those stupid Avengers movies. So I'm not saying do it at your own peril. I'm saying to you, I won't tolerate it. I don't care what the circumstances are. So we're at the end of this presentation. The 16th discussion point I have in my notes is to ask the question for attendance verification. So here's what you must do. All of you, at your early convenience, need to send me an email, your name, the class, the section, and the session. And for this, it would simply say rules of engagement, because this one doesn't match up to any of the syllabi. And you need to answer this question. The question, and there's only one today, sometimes I ask one at the midpoint and some at the end, but the question today is, if you were to join the Space Command, what personal sidearm is issued to you? All right, I love you. I'm anxious for our summer session to begin. You and I together will do lots of good things. So every good wish, and we'll be active in 2 weeks.